New Delhi, December 16, 2012. A cold winter night. A crowded city, alive with its usual chaos. But somewhere, inside a moving bus, a nightmare was about to unfold. What happened that night was so brutal, so shocking, that it froze an entire nation. It sparked global protests, rewrote laws, and exposed the darkest corners of human cruelty. This is not just a crime story. This is the story of Nirbhaya, name that means fearless. And tonight, you'll learn why the world will never forget her. Start a story. It was December 16, 2012. A chilly winter evening in New Delhi. The city was alive in its usual way, street vendors calling out, rickshaws buzzing through traffic, families heading home after dinner, the neon glow of cinema halls lighting up the night. Among the crowd was 22-year-old Jyoti Singh. Bright, ambitious, a physiotherapy intern who dreamed of helping others heal. That night, she had just one simple plan to unwind. Together with her friend Awindra Pandey, she bought tickets to see the newly released film Life of Pi in the neighborhood of Manurka. The movie ended. The two walked out of the theater, laughing, still discussing the story they had just seen. It was close to 9:30 p.m. The night air was crisp. Delhi, though restless, seemed harmless. But beneath the hum of the city, danger was waiting. To get home, they needed transport. Taxis were scarce, auto rickshaws were full, and the streets were crowded. Then, almost as if fate intervened, they spotted a white private bus. It slowed near them. The driver called out, offering a ride. It looked like any other bus. Harmless, convenient, a way home. And so, they climbed aboard. Inside, 6 men were already seated. Strangers, staring. The door shut behind them. The engine growled. The bus pulled away. Jyoti and Awindra settled into their seats, unaware that with every turn of the wheels, they were being carried further and further from safety. Soon, Awindra noticed something was off. The bus wasn't heading toward their route. The streets looked unfamiliar. He leaned forward, asking the driver, "Where are you taking us?" But there would be no answer. Only silence. And the first chilling signs that they were trapped. This was not a ride home. This was the beginning of a nightmare. The moment Jyoti and Awindra boarded that bus, their fate was sealed. At first, nothing seemed unusual. The driver stared ahead, the men inside muttered to each other. But the atmosphere was thick and nerving, the kind of silence that makes the hair on the back of your neck rise. As the bus moved deeper into the city, Awindra grew uneasy. He noticed the route. The bus wasn't heading toward Dwarka, where Jyoti needed to go. Streetlights faded. Familiar roads gave way to empty, unfamiliar lanes. He finally spoke up. "Where are you taking us?" he demanded. That's when it happened. The men turned. Their stares sharpened into something dangerous. Taunting words followed. They questioned the two. What were they doing out so late? Why was a young woman traveling with a man at night? The tone was accusatory, ugly, the kind of tone that signals trouble. Awindra tried to defend Jyoti, tried to defuse the situation, but his words only enraged them. The tension snapped. Suddenly an iron rod appeared, heavy, cold. Before he could react, the men struck him with it. Once, twice, again. The sound of metal against flesh echoed through the hollow bus. Awindra collapsed, bleeding, his cries muffled by the blows raining down on him. Every time he tried to rise, they knocked him down. And finally, with a sickening crack, he went limp, barely conscious, bones shattered. The 6 men turned then, toward Jyoti. Her heart pounded, trapped at the back of the bus, no way out, surrounded by predators who outnumbered her 6 to 1. Their faces twisted with cruelty. Their words turned darker. And then, without hesitation, they dragged her from her seat. She screamed. She fought. Her nails clawed. Her teeth bit marks she would leave forever on their bodies. But the men laughed at her resistance. One by one, they cornered her. One by one, they took turns inflicting unspeakable violence. And with every passing minute, the bus transformed from an ordinary vehicle into a chamber of horror. The iron rod that silenced Awindra was used again. This time on Jyoti. Brutal, relentless, beyond comprehension. Outside, the city carried on. Cars rushed past, vendors sold food, people laughed under the winter sky. But inside that moving bus, a crime was unfolding so savage, so merciless, that it would scar the soul of a nation. And when the attackers were done, their cruelty didn't stop. They tossed both Jyoti and Awindra out of the bus onto the side of a cold, deserted road. Broken, bleeding, barely alive. For the two friends, the nightmare had only just begun. The bus sped off into the night, leaving two broken bodies on the roadside. It was past 11 p.m. when a passerby spotted them. Awindra barely conscious, bones shattered. Jyoti bleeding, mutilated, drifting between life and death. They were rushed to Safdarjung Hospital in Delhi. Doctors, hardened by years of emergencies, froze at what they saw. The injuries were beyond belief. Her abdomen, torn, her intestines, destroyed. Her body bore the marks of torture. Bite marks, bruises. Her spirit had fought until the very end, evidence written across the wounds she carried. One surgeon would later admit, "In my entire career, I had never seen anything like this. Not even in war zones." Still, they tried. They fought for her life with everything they had. Hour after hour, surgery after surgery, stitches, transfusions, machines keeping her heart beating. But her pain was unbearable. Each time she regained consciousness, she whispered the same thing to her family: "I want to live." Outside the hospital, word spread, first in whispers, then in headlines. And soon, a storm of outrage erupted across India. Crowds gathered at India Gate. Thousands flooded the streets. Men, women, children, students demanding justice, demanding change. But inside the ICU, Jyoti's battle was far from over. Her body was shutting down, organs failing. Doctors knew the truth: her chances were slipping away. The government, desperate to save her, arranged for something unprecedented. On December 26th, Jyoti was airlifted to Singapore for an emergency organ transplant. It was a 6-hour flight. A fragile hope, but the journey was too much. Mid-flight, she suffered a cardiac arrest. Her young body, shattered by unimaginable cruelty, could not hold on any longer. At 4:45 a.m. on December 29, 2012, in a foreign hospital room, Jyoti Singh was pronounced dead. She was only 22 years old. Her fight ended that morning. But outside, a different battle was just beginning, because the world was about to learn the full horror of what had been done to her. And the outrage would shake India to its core. As Jyoti fought for her life in the hospital, another battle was being waged on the streets of Delhi. A manhunt, a desperate race to catch the predators before they vanished into the night. The Delhi police began piecing together the puzzle: a bus, a route, a timeline. From CCTV footage, they traced the vehicle, a private charter bus with tinted windows. The driver's name surfaced: Ram Singh. With this lead, the police struck fast. Ram Singh was pulled in first, a man with a criminal past, and now, the blood of an unspeakable crime on his hands. From there, the web unraveled. Ram's brother, Mukesh Singh, Vinay Sharma, a gym assistant, Pawan Gupta, a fruit seller, Akshay Thakur, a migrant worker, and finally the youngest of them all, a boy, just 17 years old, Mohammed Afroz. 6 men, 6 faces that would soon become symbols of pure evil. But here's the chilling truth. This wasn't the first attack that night. Earlier, the same men had lured in a carpenter, robbed him, beat him, and tossed him from the bus. He went to the police. He begged them to act, but his plea was dismissed. Had they listened, Jyoti might still be alive. Now, the nation was watching. Every move, every arrest, broadcast live. The police leaned on evidence, the stolen phones of the victims, tracked to the attackers, bite marks on the men, matching Jyoti's desperate fight. Forensic trails that told a story of brutality too horrifying to deny. And yet, even in custody, some of them showed no shame, no remorse. One even declared that Jyoti should never have resisted, that if she had just stayed silent, she might have lived. Those words poured gasoline on the fire already burning in India. Protests swelled. From Delhi's India Gate to the farthest corners of South Asia, people took to the streets, men and women together, united in rage. But for Jyoti's family, the question remained: would justice be swift, or would the system fail them, as it had failed so many before? The courts prepared, the world waited, and as the trial began, the true horror of what had happened inside that bus came to light. The fight for Jyoti's life was over, but the fight for her justice had only just begun. The arrests were swift, the outrage was unstoppable, but justice, that would be a long and agonizing journey. Within days, charges were filed. The world learned of the 6 men who had turned a bus into a torture chamber: Ram Singh, Mukesh Singh, Vinay Sharma, Pawan Gupta, Akshay Thakur, and the juvenile, Afroz. But the anger of a nation demanded more than arrests. They demanded a trial like no other. On January 3, 2013, police filed charges against the 5 adult men. The juvenile was spared an adult trial. His age, just shy of 18, shielded him. This single fact sent waves of fury through India. How could someone so brutal be treated as a child? Then, on March 11, 2013, the story twisted again. Ram Singh, the driver, was found hanging in his prison cell. Suicide, the authorities claimed. But whispers spread. Was it suicide? Or was he silenced? The trial pressed on. Fast-track courts heard the details. The medical reports. The testimony of Awindra. The evidence. Every detail painted a picture of cruelty beyond comprehension. Finally, on September 10, 2013, the verdict came. The 4 remaining adults were found guilty. 3 days later, the sentence was pronounced death by hanging. Judge Yogesh Khanna declared, "The crime has shocked the collective conscience of India. They deserve nothing but the death penalty." The courtroom erupted, some in relief, some in grief. But outside, the protests only grew louder. Still, justice in India moved slowly. The appeals began. First the Delhi High Court in 2014 upholding the death penalty. Then the Supreme Court in 2017 rejecting their pleas. And finally, their lawyers sought mercy from the President of India himself. Each request denied. Meanwhile, the juvenile served just 3 years in a correctional home, the maximum penalty allowed at the time. In 2015, he walked free, a fact that enraged millions and forced lawmakers to rewrite the Juvenile Justice Act, allowing minors aged 16 to 18 to be tried as adults for heinous crimes. But the 4 adults remained on death row. Years passed. Appeals dragged. Dates were postponed again and again. And with each delay, the memory of Jyoti's suffering was dragged back into the headlines. Finally, the day came. March 20, 2020. After 7 long years, the convicts were led to the gallows inside Tihar jail. At 5:30 a.m., the trapdoors opened, 4 bodies dropped. After 30 minutes, they were declared dead. Justice, delayed but delivered. For Jyoti's parents, the moment was bittersweet. Their daughter was gone, but her killers were gone too. Across India, people lit candles. Some wept, some cheered. But all knew this: the name Nirbhaya would never be forgotten. The crime was over. The trial was over. But the impact of Nirbhaya's story was only beginning. The streets of Delhi had never seen anything like it. In the days after the attack, India Gate and Rasina Hill swelled with furious crowds. Women, men, students, mothers, fathers, even children marched with candles in hand. For the first time, it wasn't just women demanding safety. Men stood shoulder to shoulder with them, shouting in unison, "Justice for Nirbhaya." Police tried to control the mobs with barricades, with water cannons, even with tear gas. But the people would not be silenced. They had seen too much. They had heard too much. The brutality had pierced the heart of the nation. And soon, it spilled beyond India's borders. Marches in Nepal, protests in Sri Lanka, rallies in Pakistan and Bangladesh. The name Nirbhaya became a symbol for women everywhere, fearless, unbroken, unforgotten. The pressure was too great. India's government could no longer turn away. The laws had to change. In the months that followed, sweeping reforms were enacted. Section 376 of the Indian Penal Code was rewritten. Rape would now carry a minimum of 10 years in prison. If the assault caused death or left the victim in a vegetative state, punishment could mean life imprisonment or death. And after the outrage over the juvenile's release, the Juvenile Justice Act was amended. Now, anyone between 16 and 18 accused of heinous crimes could be tried as an adult. For a moment, it seemed like progress. Like Jyoti's suffering had forced a nation to finally open its eyes. But the truth, the fight is far from over. Even today, crimes against women in India remain shockingly high. Every 16 minutes, another woman reports sexual violence. And countless others never speak, silenced by shame, fear, or distrust of the system. Experts say laws alone are not enough. They point to something deeper, something older. A culture steeped in patriarchy. A society where women are still told to stay quiet, to stay home, to stay invisible. Nirbhaya's case was meant to be a turning point. But the question remains, has India truly changed? Or has her sacrifice been buried beneath new headlines, new victims, new tragedies? What is certain is this: her name lit a fire. A fire that refuses to die. And though Jyoti Singh was taken from this world on that December night, her courage, her fearlessness lives on in every woman who dares to fight back. And every man who dares to stand beside her. Because Nirbhaya's story was not just hers, it was the story of a nation. And it is a story the world can never afford to forget. December 16, 2012. A night that began with laughter, with a movie, with 2 friends heading home. And yet, by dawn, it had become a night that changed India forever. Jyoti Singh was just 22 years old. She had dreams, ambitions, a family who adored her. She wanted to heal people. Instead, She was torn from this world in the most brutal way imaginable. But in death, she became something more. She became a voice. A spark that ignited a revolution. A name that millions would shout in the streets. Nirbhaya, fearless. Her courage forced a nation to confront its darkest truths. It forced leaders to act, laws to change, and millions to rise up against silence. She became the symbol of every woman who had ever been told to stay quiet, and every woman who refused. But here is the hardest truth. Her story should never have been needed to wake us up. No woman should have to suffer to remind us of her worth. And yet, here we are. More than a decade has passed since that night. But the memory of what happened inside that bus still lingers. In every protest sign, in every candlelight vigil, in every whispered warning to daughters across India, Jyoti Singh's killers are gone, but the fight she began is not, because the real question is not what happened that night. It's what happens now. What happens tomorrow? What happens every time another woman steps into the dark and wonders if the world will protect her or betray her? In the end, Nirbhaya's story is not just about her death. It's about her defiance, her bravery, her refusal to go silently into the night. And that is why we will remember her. Not as a victim, but as a warrior. Fearless, unbroken, forever. Nirbhaya. If this story moved you, don't forget to like this video, share it to keep her memory alive, and subscribe for more true crime cases that the world should never forget. And let me know your thoughts in the comments below.